find the perfect relationship in your current life is what keeps people jumping from relationship to relationship, looking for all the missing pieces you had with us. When you look at someone else and see yourself in them and they in you, that's the perfect relationship. Because in this world, I just want to emphasize this, in this world, you're here to learn things. You're here to perfect things. You're here to perfect the soul. There's something you came here to learn, something you came here to do. And relationships is a big part of this journey in this, on the earth plane, okay? So you come here, you're not going to have that pristine, rarely are you going to have that pristine relationship you had when you were on the other side before you got here, your before life, okay? Not after you got here in this world. So it's expecting a lot to have the relationship you have, had, and will have again when you're released from this world, in this world, all right? You're here to work out your rough edges. Think about it like that. You are not looking for someone who has the qualities that you desire. You are looking for those qualities in yourself first. Okay, so what that means is you have a list, okay? You have an agenda. You have an idea of what it is you want in somebody else. And yet you may not have those qualities in yourself yet. And so the whole point to this, to attract it, to be capable of having that and actually keeping that in your life, you know, you might get it, but you won't be able to hold on to it if you're not one with that, if you're not like that person, if you don't have a connection and a commonality, all right? You're not going to be able to hold on to that, or they won't be able to hold on to you if you don't have that going for you, for the relationship. Because that's how the relationship learns. That's how the relationship grows. That's how the relationship gets over some of the rough spots each one of you have without attacking each other, without finding that it's too much to be with that other person because one of you aren't willing to grow. Okay? So when that happens and the other person just pushes you back and they refuse to participate and you know, learn with you and grow with you and really be one with you, that's when the relationship goes south. And it happens all the time. I mean, we're in this world to learn, and when the other person stops learning, it stresses out the person who still is. That's what it does.
Yeah, or they have different interests. One's on a spiritual path and the other one could care less.
Or if the other one changes their mind. You could be in a relationship, it was perfect, it was great. And then the other person decides to go off that way. And you just go, what happened here? You know, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't fit me. Yet they had to go that way, all right? I had that happen in both of my relationships before. And when they went off in another direction, and we were no longer looking in the same direction together, that's when the relationship no longer worked. And I had to get out of them. They didn't work. And they didn't work for the other, for my husband, it didn't work for them either, all right? So it's, you've got, yeah.
No one even told you if you continue along on this spiritual path, you're going to destroy our marriage.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, I don't know if he could actually blame it on that, but that was just something that got into him that in the wrong way. He didn't want to hear about it, be bothered with it, you know, that type of thing. But I will say this, he was very good when he went my way and he learned to do some of these practices. He was exceptionally good. But then he didn't want to go that way. It's very interesting, you guys, how this works. He was good at it, and yet he didn't want to be bothered with it. That's interesting, you know?
That's like somebody who sees somebody else play music, play the piano, play the guitar, or paint, or something like that. They say, "Oh, you're so good at that." They keep pushing you to, "You ought to do that for a living," you know. You know.
And you don't want to do it.
No, like my golf experience. You know, I played golf one time, did really, really well, and they all told me, "Well, you ought to spend $1,000 on clubs, and you ought to do this every weekend." And why?
He didn't have the urge to do it.
No.
So even though he had the capacity to do it, he just didn't have the drive, the urge that drove him in that direction. So he didn't do it. So that's how it works. You both have to be not just together, you know, and love or like each other. Hopefully you like each other too, all right? But you have to really be looking in the same direction. And at any time along the way, your partner could lose interest in that direction. And that happens to be the direction you're on, so they lose interest in you. It's not something you can take personally. I will tell you that. How could you take that personally? Somebody just had a change of heart, went a different way, didn't fit you. The relationship wasn't ideal anymore. So why should you feel like you did something wrong? You didn't do anything wrong any more than they did something wrong. All right? They're just following their need to go another way, or you know, or your need to go another way. You never know.
Isn't it a natural thing for people to have this list? I mean, isn't that what dating sites are built around?
Yeah.
Fill out a profile and what you like and what you don't like. And
yeah, it is, Ray. Yeah.
So that's probably why most of them don't work out.
Well, what's happening when you see that, or if you do that, or if you've ever done that, you're just in this world. You're not connected. You're not coming from your whole self. Okay, that's all that means. All right, what do we have there, Ray? Who do we have?
No question. Well, let's say who's here.
Okay, because we're looking for your questions about the relationship. Where does the longing for a relationship come from, and where have you guys experienced that in this world? Okay.
No longing questions yet. We have Veronica and Kathy and Kimberly Williams and Joy, Kimberly Williams, Jane Amron. Hello, Jane. Long time no see you. We have somebody else on. Let's see here. Kimberly says she used to have a very long list, LOL, but she definitely didn't like what she saw in him when she was with somebody because it was a reflection of myself. That's when we needed to go our separate ways and find our real selves.
Well, is that the end of that comment?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk about that for a minute. That's interesting. You saw him, you saw yourself in him, and that's when you said you didn't want to be with him. Whoa. Okay. That did let you know, Kimberly, that you needed to do some work on yourself, all right? Because, I mean, that's a stark awakening when you experience something like that. When you see yourself in somebody else and you don't want to be with them.
That's kind of an indicator that you don't like yourself.
Let's come over here and let's let the guides talk about that. That's really interesting how you worded that. Okay, and we're going to let the guides just talk about that, and here they go.
It's interesting how at the beginning of a relationship, you like each other because you remind each other of each other. But as the relationship wears on, the things you don't like about yourself are reflected back at you.
Okay, so you're in the relationship now. You didn't even give this relationship a chance, the way I read it from the way Ray read your comment. So it got your attention immediately, and you went to work on yourself, is what you did. You went back to the drawing board. Let's just say that's what it was. Back to the drawing board to do the work you needed to do here, so you could raise the bar in yourself and set yourself up for a relationship that you like about yourself. All right? Yeah.
I think you have to be pretty comfortable with yourself before you even consider getting into a relationship.
But that's not what happens.
No.
Out of desperation, people get in relationships.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
they've been alone too long. A lot of times that's what it is, you guys. You've been alone too long, and you all of a sudden you just pounce in. You jump too fast to get in a relationship and regret it. You can even see that you're going to regret it, but you stick with it for a little while just because those nights got real lonely.
Yeah, which is different than being alone.
It's totally different. That's when you feel that loneliness, you have broke the connection to your real self, to your guides. It's really in jeopardy when you feel that. All right, and that's where I'm telling you, the only way around that is to take part 3 and start writing about what's going on with you, how you're feeling, so you can work through those shortcomings. Okay, because you guys, you're never alone, right? You know that now. You're never alone, and you're always being guided. And when you write in your journal, you're going to see when you write, just like when you channel your guides, when you write, you're going to see how the spirit guides and angels infiltrate your writing and pass on, valuable guidance to you that you may have missed the first time you wrote it down,
Okay, Kimberly's side note is that was a relationship where it was 13 years that she was married to the person.
Oh.
So that was a long time.
That is.
It took a long time to realize that
she deserved more.
Right.
That you were worthy. And I know you know that now, Kimberly, after knowing you for a while. I know that you know that. You won't tolerate not being treated the way that you know you deserve to be treated and the way you would treat another. All right. It's not a one-way street, you guys. It's a two-way street. Do you have the time for that? We know people that, like they've been divorced and they've got families and exes and all this kind of stuff. They don't have time. They have no room in their life for a relationship because they're so bogged down with their old life, the relationship they used to have, the kids they had, all the family stuff they had. They still do all that stuff. So what kind of room is there for relationships? You kind of called your own shots right there. So, there may come a time when you say, I feel the need to be in a relationship, a loving relationship and, something like that. And I need to make a little time for myself outside of the old, family I used to come from. Still going to spend time with them, the kids and everybody, but you need time for that relationship too.
Kimberly says, correct. Great answer.
Yeah.
Going back to the lonely thing, when I met you, you had been alone for 6 years, but you weren't lonely.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference of being.
And here, Ray. When I met Ray, he was in a 19-year marriage, close enough to 20, and he was very lonely. Ray had been in this unhappy marriage for, how long was the marriage unhappy? At least 15 years?
Yeah.
Of the 19 years? Oh. And he had a child, so he stuck it out. He never had a kid before. And, he was trying to make this thing work. And he was very lonely. When I met Ray, he was very lonely.
I'd been single 2 weeks
when
I met you, hon.
I know. That wasn't true, but that's not true.
I know.
Not really true, Ray. You were alone. You were in a lonely marriage. You were lonely in a marriage for 15 years at least of the 19.
Yep.
That's a long time to be in an unhappy relationship. Kim, you can understand that after what you said. That's a long time.
Yeah. The lonely part means that you think nobody cares.
Yeah.
The alone part can be very powerful. You can be very powerful when you're alone.
And part of the time, Ray did spend alone so he could, feel better about himself and, begin to feel like a person again. But most of the time, Ray was so lonely that, how many kitty cats did you have, Ray?
A lot. I've had over 100, but I always had, 6 or 8 or 10 at a time.
I know. And so he found a way to get the love that he craved so he didn't feel so lonely.
I bought I bought guitars and fostered kitty cats.
That's what he did. That is what he did.
Well, and I bought a home in Sedona. That's how I ended up in Sedona.
Right, right.
To be by myself.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah, the healing part of it. And he did. Ray came a long way doing that. Got a lot of sleep doing that, huh, Ray?
Got a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Got a lot of practice in on those guitars.
So do we have other questions?
No other questions yet. Come on, people.
Okay.
But I got some things I looked at today.
So feel free to bring up your questions so your guides can talk to you about it and, get some clarity on this thing, okay?
Well, I found out there's all kinds of relationships. We're just talking about that personal, loving relationship that you had with your spirit family before you got here.
Which was so amazing.
Right. And then you get here and you get your amnesia and you forgot what that was like.
And let me just say this one thing before Ray goes into the earthly relationships, okay? This relationship that you have with your guides, it's that longing you feel in this world. Why do you feel that longing? Why do you feel like you could have this relationship? Why would you even feel the longing if you didn't have a basis of comparison? I mean, you got it from somewhere. You didn't get it here. Those kind of everything here is conditional in this world.
Right.
It really is, okay? So even the best relationship you have, you still have to perform, in ways that keep that relationship a relationship, all right? Where you come from, they love you just the way you are. They love you so deeply, just the way you are. They accept you completely.
Okay, Kimberly says, well, how do you know if you've met the right one? Sometimes the signs are mixed up. You might think that he's the one, and 6 months later, you're like saying, oh, no, this isn't going to work. How did you do it? How did you know I was the one?
Well, I didn't. He knew I was the one.
I know.
But I didn't know he was the one because I was really fed up at that time in my life, and I was pretty burned out on all this kind of stuff. So, but the way I asked my guides, I said, if I meet the right one, give me a sign, and that's how it happened. I talk about that in my flagship book, Guided Part 4, and what happened when they came through. And I mean, it's just a whole story about how that went down. But I finally quit doing the picking. Is how this was able to happen. Now, a relationship, is it perfect every day? Well, let me ask you this. Instead of the relationship, putting all that pressure on the relationship to be so perfect, are you perfect every day?
Right.
No, you're not. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel blue. Some days you feel like you just need to be alone. Okay. What about your partner? How do they take that? Could they be offended by that? Could their feelings be hurt from that? Right? So relationships are a work in progress. And they're not, it's not that they're not perfect. It's that nobody's perfect. Okay? We live in this world, and this world is, I mean, from day to day, things change, and you change, and you feel differently, and you write things down, and you learn new things, and sometimes things happen that you feel like you could have done without, right? And they're lessons, and they're learning, and this life puts pressure on us. So when you're in a relationship, it's not that the relationship's putting pressure on you, it's that you're under pressure, and you happen to be in a relationship. So how do you handle that situation so the other person in this relationship with you doesn't suffer when you go through some of these things? And you always do. We all go through it. You don't hold it against the other person. You don't take it personally. You pull back and you let that person go through what they need to go through, and they know that you're there for them if they need to talk about it or not. Maybe it's just a quiet day you have together. There's nothing wrong. It's just a quiet day. All right? So what you have to do, knowing you're in an imperfect world right now, in between where you are most of the time in your eternity, okay? When everything's great, okay? When you're here to learn. You're here to figure things out. You're here to become more than you were before you got here. You put a lot of pressure on yourself when you decided to come into this earth life, a lot. Now you bring another person into the equation, your partner, your love, your husband, your wife, your significant other. And there's days when both of you having, to contend with this world and what goes on in this world. You're both going to have your days, your good days, your days that are just kind of ho-hum, and there's going to always be all the different kind of days. Do you still like each other? As you move through all this, do you still like each other? If you like each other, you really have something that's worth keeping. If you don't like each other, you probably don't have much to build on. You can love that person, but if you don't like them, that's going to be a hard relationship, you guys. The friendship is the most important thing first.
Yeah, and somewhere in there, in that mix, is trust.
Well, that's right. That, it's where they know they can count on you no matter what, over and above everybody else. They know they can count on you, and vice versa. If you don't have that quality in your relationship, then it's not the ideal. It could be some kind of a friendship, that once in a while, but not really tight. Your soulmate would never feel like that to you. Your soulmate you would know your soulmate. Your soul knows the other soul. You would know them, all right, on that level, okay? And you would love them and care about them and be there for them. That would be also true with your relationship to your significant other. So the more that you have this connection with your guides, you're in this world, and you have this connection to your guides, and you are one with this thing, the more you are qualified to actually have a relationship in this world, a powerful one, okay? But when you don't have this relationship and you're just in this world and you're dragging a leg and you're just kind of hobbling through and you're surviving, how could you have a relationship when that's the best that you've done so far in this life? And when you're already split off and you're not in one piece, how could you give it your best when you're not all there? All right?
Okay, Kathy says, the biggest thing she's learned in a relationship is that you have to allow the other person to live their life and be who they are. Don't try to make them who you want them to be, but accept them as they are.
Kathy, that is so true. At the same time, this relationship is this relationship. Let's say you have another one after this one. You would, for your partner to branch off and move over here and they're going another way, and you can't, it's none of your business. I mean, if they're going to do that, they're going to do that. And you see them move that way, and it's not where you're moving that way, okay? I guarantee you, if you have another relationship after this one, it will be one where you will demand more. You will demand more from the relationship, or you'll put yourself in a situation where if they decide to veer off, that you won't feel like you can't get away. You can't reclaim yourself and not spend time unnecessarily in a situation where they veered off and you feel stuck in it. Okay? Go ahead.
Okay, Patty Kopak Hollaback says, welcome here. I know so many people who go from relationship to relationship without spending any time in between the relationships to work on themselves.
They are desperate. Okay, they're here's what happened, Patty. That person is in this world, in just this world. They're not connected. They don't know who they are. And they're terrified to be alone with themselves because they don't even know who that is, okay? When you take the time to know who this is, who you really are, who you were when you first came here on that very first day, when you were still connected to this guidance, that came with you to see you through this lifetime? If you don't have that connection, wow, you're in this world and you're not in one piece and you don't feel confident about yourself. You can't feel confident about yourself if you're just in this world. You can't. You're lamed up. You're only half of you is here. You feel scared. You feel desperate. You feel alone. You feel lost. And you are all those things when that happens. All right? I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your friend and watching this happen. If this person was connected, if they took the time to do the work, to make the connection, to understand who this is, who they really are, not the one that they are in this world and they feel like this world is all there is. That's scary, okay? No wonder they keep trying to go for somebody else and grab somebody else and somebody else, all right? They're scared. I could understand that. Totally.
Wouldn't people like that also do it for appearances only? You know, like they have a group of friends and they always go out to dinner together and they go to the movies and they go to sporting events together, and all of a sudden one of them doesn't have a relationship. One of them's divorced, or one of them, you know, is in between relationships. Well, they feel, well, odd man out. They have to have a relationship for appearances to still be accepted.
Okay, well, that's getting more into this world even more, and that is about belonging. That has to do with the idea of belonging. And everybody that you're associated with feels like, you know, you don't belong. I mean, you're not one of them. You're not married, and you're not, you know, you don't have all the things that to deal with that they have to deal with, and that they get to deal with, that they do together, that makes sense of this crowd that they run together with, okay? So they are, yeah, at that point, you are the odd man out. And maybe you need to be the odd man out for a while. Maybe you need to have that breather so you can make this connection and remember who you are. See, it's not having to learn something new, you guys. It's just remembering who you really are, have always been, and forgot, okay? And you can't bring this back if you don't take that moment to stop, let all the commotion go, and reclaim this. Start remembering what this is. Start writing your dreams down in part 3 of My Guided Journey, so you can start to see what your guides are telling you. Because you know what happens with your guides, with your spirit guides? The first way they're going to communicate with you is through your dreams. Because it's the easiest way to access you when you're not in your day life, and you're all this commotion, you know, distracting you, consuming you, scaring you, you know, everything that goes on in this world that's loud. You know, when you're asleep, it's not loud anymore. You're back in this world. You're back where you came from. So they can reach you. Now, eventually, when you make this connection back to yourself and you're back in the game, along with being in this world, okay, where you've got the two, and you've got this connection to your guides, once you have all that, then having this relationship, having this connection, having this ability to not be in panic mode over here, it's only possible once you are back together again. I kind of use the analogy of Humpty Dumpty. You know, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, and then Humpty Dumpty took a great fall into this world, okay? And that's when, how does the rest of that go?
All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Humpty Dumpty back together again. So what does that fable tell you? You know, when all you are is in this world, nobody can fix you. Nobody can really help you in that. You have to go back and reclaim the person who first came here, you, before you got so invested in this world, okay? Before you completely forgot who you were and where you came from and all that's around you all the time, ready to help you, your guides. ready to guide you. They are constantly pointing out guidance to you. But because you're so freaked out in this world, you miss it. And you miss it. Sometimes you get that feeling and you go, ooh, I feel like I just missed something. I feel like I should know something. I feel like I should be able to remember something.
That's a good point. Because people, when they get that urge, they can be in their 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, in the relationships, they've been through a lot of relationships, and they feel that there's something wrong with me. I have to become spiritual. So I have to work on myself and learn this to become spiritual and read all these books and go to all these seminars and all of that stuff so I can become spiritual, when you really don't have to learn anything at all.
No, you don't. There's absolutely nothing, no class you can go to learn this.
I mean, you don't sell any online courses. You don't have any weekend retreats. You don't do any of that.
And neither do the guides. The guides don't do that either. What they do is they remind you of who you already are.
So you only have to remember. You don't have to learn anything new. You just have to get triggered so you remember.
That's why I wrote this journal, to help you guys walk you down that road, okay? To give you a roadmap to remember who you are, reclaim yourself, and start living your life fully. Not just over here where you're dragging a leg and you're just surviving in this world and you're fighting it and you're struggling. When you have this connection and you're back together again, the struggle stops. The only way the struggle can start again is if you resist the guidance that they show you. If you go, oh no, not right now. No, it's not convenient for me right now. I can't do that right now. And you miss that opportunity, then you miss another one and another one. Okay, that will mess you up. Even though you're connected, if you resist the guidance and you refuse to go that way because you feel like maybe it's too risky, I'll tell you what, the real risk is the risk you're not taking. It's staying where you are and not taking a risk. And you know what? I got to call it what it is. It's not even a risk. When we call in this world, when we call, moving that way with the guidance, a risk, it's over exaggerating what it is. There's the guidance. Don't say anything to anybody so they can't make a big commotion about it and say, oh, that sounds risky. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, what if this happened? Oh, what if that? And they throw all that at you. You're asking somebody who's just living in this world about your world, which is one. How could you possibly get good advice from somebody who's just living in this world that's disconnected? They think they're giving you great advice because they're oblivious to who they really are, okay? So they don't even know. So just keep it to yourself. You get the guidance. This is your friend right here. This is your real friend. Write down what came through and what you intend, what it felt like, what you realized, and the action you're going to take. Put the book down and then take the action. Don't tell anybody what you just did, what you realized, and what you're going to do.
Most of these people who give you advice tell you to do something that they've never done in their life, number one, and they are just wondering, well, maybe that'd be something I should do, but I'd like to see somebody else try it first and see if it works.
Jump off the high dive first.
There you go. You go first.
Yeah, so it could be that, what Ray's talking about. But you just have to, number one, first and foremost, if you really want to live the life you came here to live, you guys, fully, then you've got to make this connection, bring it back, start doing the discipline of writing it down, documenting, logging what's going on with you. You have got to do that to see how you're doing. It inches along in the very beginning. Then it starts going boom, boom. It starts becoming bigger moves. And then all of a sudden it's just instant, and then instant, and then instant. You don't even have time to write it down. It's happening so fast. And guess what? You are in your life. You are living the life you intended before you came here. And the relationship, well, that's just going to show up. That's just going to be handed right to you on a silver platter. If you got anything less than what you deserve, than who you are, it could never get through the door. Could never even show up. You don't have to worry about that.
Somebody who's like you, who vibrates with you, is going to notice you and show up.
Here's how they said it. When you look at someone else and see yourself in them, and they in you, that's the perfect relationship. Don't expect it to be pristine like it is before you came here with your guides. Don't expect that. Never put that pressure on your partner. No.
Or yourself.
No, that's right. You guys are both in this like, you're both playing, imagine, little kids. You're both playing in the sandbox together. And all kinds of things are going to happen. Give me my toy. That's my toy. Give me that bat. You know, you build your little castle and the other, your friend kicks their leg and accidentally knocks down your castle. And, you know, there's everything that you have to learn here, that you have to go through, that you have to learn to overcome, to become more than you were before you came here. So when you go back to where you came from, the cycle, when you go back to where you came from, you're more than you were when you first came here, which is what you came here to accomplish, all right?
Stacey has an interesting question. What do you do about a relationship where there's a 15-year age gap, age difference? It's unacceptable to most people, just about everyone here. I mean, ages 45 and 30, where I'm the 45-year-old woman and he's 30.
So the age gap.
The age gap.
That depends on the person. It depends on you, and it depends on the other person, okay? Let's let the guides talk about that. It really does depend on the two of you. And it could be a really strong relationship you had from a previous life that needs to be played out, okay?
Could be.
That's what I feel. Here they go.
The age gap is not important, nor is how anyone else views it. If this 15-year gap was reversed and you at 45 were dating a 60-year-old man, would that make any difference? Would people be more accepting of your choices then? It's not how much age is between you, but how much living each person has done up to that time.
Yeah, how much living you've done up to that time. It could mean so many things, okay? But what I get is when you have something that's that far and apart, there's something that drew you together that is not just a casual relationship like you might have somebody within a year or two of your age. That there's something really strong pulling you together. I mean, beyond the beyond, okay? So there's something going on there that it's a carryover. That's what I get. In your particular case, it's a carryover from another life.
Well, your mom and dad were, what, 13 years apart,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. But that was a different situation.
That was odd in those days, in the 50s.
No, it wasn't.
Really?
No.
My parents and everybody else I knew, they were all like 5 years apart, 4 or 5 years apart.
I think you see that more. It used to be more common where you saw it where the man was older than the woman. All right, but it's not so uncommon now.
Yeah,
for it to be the other way around is what I'm saying. That's not so uncommon to have that kind of relationship. I mean,
look at me. My first marriage, I married an older woman. A woman that was older than I was.
Well, how much older was she?
3 years.
Well, that's not really that different. But that was exotic for your age.
Right.
I mean, you were only 20-something, right?
26.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually, yeah.
But she was real short, too, so that made her look younger.
But you just have to, that's Stacy, right? Stacy, you just have to take and write these things down, work through it, see through it, and if he's mature enough to keep up with you, I mean, you might say that, well, are you strong enough to keep up with him? Well, he might be physically, have more going on because of the 15-year gap. But does he have it going on? Does he have it going on like this? Okay, it's not just this,
Okay.
Something brought you two together.
Heather McNee. Hi, Linda and Ray. I was lucky to be married for 49 years.
Wow.
We had been together since we were both 15 years old, and he passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's rare.
That has become more rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you couldn't have been with this guy that long if you didn't have something really, some strong connection with each other, where you liked each other.
And trusted each other.
Yeah, that's really important. It really comes down to really liking each other, you guys. If you say, I'm in like with you, and then you could say, I'm in love with you, but in like with you, if I'm in like with you, God, I think that in like with you is just like the best compliment.
Yeah. Okay, Kimberly says, since the last session we had, she's been to the doctor and found out that why she's so tired and sad. Remember, she was tired and sad all the time?
Yeah.
And it mostly is menopause, and it's roaring through her body, and that's the reason. At least now she knows what's causing it, and she can deal with it. Thank you for that guidance. Yeah. They were right on.
What did they tell her, Ray?
Last week they told her, it's not a physical thing. I mean, it's not a
life-threatening.
No, it's not a life-threatening.
Not life-threatening. Right.
And Melissa Youre says hi. Hello, everybody. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Welcome, Brittany. Elizabeth Patella. Beautiful guidance. Thank you. Welcome, Brittany. It's great to see a lot of new people.
Yeah, we love you guys. And you come on Tuesdays. We're here on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time, talking about any one of Linda's weekly guided insights. Tonight, we happen to be talking about where does the longing for a relationship come from?
Another new person, Heather McNee. Hi, Heather.
Great, Heather.
Kathy again. Stacy. Okay, Stacy. Yes. Okay. No more comments or questions.
Okay, so I'm going to move on. So really, what this thing with the relationship is, and bringing this thing up about the longing for a relationship, the whole point to this session and Linda's weekly guided insights is that this longing that you feel. In my book, Guided, I talk about it from chapter 1, the merry-go-round dream, and all these little hints and feelings I had about something else is going on. What is this? Nobody else seems to be aware of this, and why do I know this stuff? Why am I being shown all this? What's going on here, right? And this was that, and I knew that the more I got to know that something else was going on and get the sense that of where I came from and my guides and my spirit guides and angels, and something was going on that was different, the more I started to long for the relationship that we had. I started feeling in this world is when I felt so lonely. I didn't feel alone. I felt lonely. I wanted my friends back. I wanted my best friends and life coaches. I wanted them back in my life. I remembered them. They let me see. They did an amnesia wipe when I was 20 months old, when my mom almost killed me, and they all showed up all around me, okay? It changed everything, you guys. I remembered them. I remembered me. It just, for that moment, they let me have a peek into where I did come from and move that way for my entire life. I always have this connection to these guides. So I can tell you, to have a relationship in this world, don't expect it to be like the one you came from. That's putting way too much on the relationship. Way too much. You came here to learn things. You came here to overcome things, your shortcomings. You came here to become more than you were before you got here. And you came here to live the life you intended, okay? And hopefully you have like a partner, like Ray and I, you have a partner to see you through that life you have together. There's nothing better than having somebody that's right there with you, taking some bumps and scrapes with you, enjoying and loving the high times, having a blast. There's nothing better than sharing the experience with another person. It's the best, but not the wrong person, okay? Don't settle for the wrong person, because by the time you get rolling together and really moving through your life and living the life you intended, because you are connected, both of you, you don't want to look at that person and go, oh my God, I settled for less. I compromised. No. You can have a friend in your life to see you through your life with, but don't have a relationship with somebody that is like a marriage partner or something like that you make that commitment to, that's not qualified, okay? They've got to be seriously qualified, you guys, all right? In my case, I asked my guides to give me a sign if I met the right one, okay? And that's what they did. They said, yep, he's the one.
Ta-da!
So you really have to be okay with going it alone. I went it alone several times in my life, and boy, was it nice. I really liked it. And then when it came into my life, then I was ready for it. Almost. Kind of. Sort of. Eventually.
Had second thoughts there a couple times when we went ring shopping.
It took me a while. Because I had been, I had a few relationships that taught me good lessons. Don't you jump in, Linda. Don't you do that. You make sure this is right. And I just put that burden on the guides. They let me know, and it was a right pick. It was nothing like the times I picked my relationships. Those were rough relationships.
Patty says your book was fantastic.
Patty, leave a review for Guided, please. It's real important that these reviews are left. Any of you that have read Guided, I would love it if you would leave a review, because you might see 161 reviews there, but everybody, you wouldn't believe people that buy the book, they read these reviews and they go, that's me. I need to understand that. I need to know that. And that's how they find me and really get in there, And they find me on Facebook, and then they find me on live events and stuff like that. So we can really help these guys. Okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to move on. We're going to have the spirit guides and angels provide a closing message for tonight's insight about where does the longing for a relationship come from. But first, I've got a few announcements, okay? Tomorrow, Wednesday, August the 14th, at 6 p.m. Pacific time, join me on my Facebook page right here, just like tonight, at Linda Deir Author. And this one will be about the feeling of separation. This feeling of separation happens when you feel something is missing in your life, but you can't identify it. You don't talk about it because you can't explain it. So how do you find what's missing that makes you feel so separate? Since you can't talk about it, you continue to flounder, feeling lost. So bring your questions using my guided journey. Your spirit guides and I am going to help you with this, okay? So we're going to help you, and we're going to start working with you in part 3. That's the my journal writing part of my guided journey, okay? Because what we do is we flush it out. We find out what's going on in your life now, right now in your life today, okay? And then we move you back into finding out where that started. And that started back there when you were a little kid, when you first came into this life, okay? That's when it first started. And then once we know where you are today with that feeling of separation, and identify where it started. You write it into part 2 in whatever chapter that's most appropriate, and I'll point that out to you. And that's where you heal the problem so it stops happening. All right. So, and the segue into that is mark your calendars for Saturday, September 7th. In less than a month from now, I will be on location in Phoenix, Arizona at Storm Wisdom from 1 to 3 p.m. This event will be about making the connection to your spirit guides with Linda Deir. It's a $35 workshop, and it includes a free paperback of my guided journey, a $15 value. Okay? To watch the video trailer and register for this event, click on the link in the description of this video. Okay, so don't miss that. That's coming up real soon. You're going to see more ads and more information about this coming out from Ray. Ray's going to be promoting it and putting it out there so you guys get a sense of this and you get in on this, all right? So next Tuesday, August the 20th, join me right here on my Facebook page, Linda Deir Author, and this will be a Q&A and commentary with me and my spirit guides at 6 p.m. Pacific time. In Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, my spirit guides will be talking about the purpose of living in two worlds. You have been told that you exist in a duality existence. Everybody shakes their heads in agreement to this. However, if they were asked to explain it, they couldn't. So why then is it important to know that you live in a duality reality existence? And how does it work? How do you know that there are two worlds? Once you realize it, why is it important? The struggle stops when you realize that this world is not all there is. When I was 20 months old, when my guides showed up and saved my life, the takeaway that day, even though I was just 20 months old, was reminding me that this world is not all there is. At 20 months old, they showed me something. They didn't tell me anything. They reminded me of what I knew before I got here, okay? It was crystal clear. And from that point forward, no matter what my mother did to me, fear no longer controlled my life. She couldn't control me through fear anymore. So that's what happens when you get your life back, you guys, when you come back into the picture, the you who came here on that very first day with your team of spirit guides and angels to follow you throughout your life, to guide you so that you had what you needed while you were here and you could enjoy it and not struggle. Otherwise, you're just in this world and it's too much. It's no wonder that you feel the way you do in all the many ways. You were never meant to do it like this. Or just be in this world, all right? So join me next Tuesday. And go ahead, Ray.
Okay. Patty says, review left.
Thank you.
Heather McNee says, thank you. She was the one that was married for 49 years.
Oh, wow.
She knew that they were together for a purpose, for that long lifetime together. They had 4 children, 12 grandchildren. Just learned she's having a great granddaughter in January. She knows a couple of her grandchildren are reincarnated from former family members, which she learned through her guides.
You know, that's true, too. I mean, we come back in as a group soul to work through this stuff. And we trade, sometimes we're the parent and sometimes we're the child or, whatever. And it's fascinating. It's really, really fascinating when you know what's going on. And sometimes you don't know it, but you feel it. You feel it, so you do know it. And write it in your journal. Keep the story going. I want to say this one thing about My Guided Journey. The front part of the book, it says, My Guided Journey, my legacy too. when you take this journey and you realize where, where you missed it, but where you went back and you reclaimed yourself, and the ramification of that, the outcome of that, the reward of being in both worlds, in this world, all right, and living the life you intended, okay? When your kids, grandkids, great-grandkids see what you did and how you figured it out, that's what this is going to show them. This couldn't be a better legacy to leave your kids, your grandkids, and your great-grandkids. That's why that's in the first part of the book. It's a powerful book. Okay, so, Ray.
Final message from the guides about relationships, right?
And what's the name of this one, Ray?
Where does the longing for a relationship come from?
That's right. And here they go.
Do not jump into love. First comes like. Next comes trust. Then comes love. You can always love someone you trust, but not always trust someone you love. Do not feel the need to have a relationship out of desperation or appearances. Running from relationship to relationship out of desperation leads to much compromising. The compromising then ultimately leads to regret. And remember, there are no perfect couples out there. Only some who are perfect for each other.
That's right. So like I said earlier, don't put the expectation on the earthly relationship you have like you would expect the relationship to be from where you came from. This longing you feel to have a relationship comes from the relationship you had before you came here. The perfect relationship. The absolute perfect relationship that was so easy. It didn't take any effort on your part. It was so easy. So no wonder we come into this life and go, what the heck happened here? Why is it so hard to have a friend that doesn't stab me in the back? How come it's so hard to have a relationship where you live happily ever after forever and really like each other and love each other?
And trust each other.
Yeah. What happened to that? And you're just sitting back going, what's going on here? What's wrong with me? You know, you start just being in this world and you start going off into to some kind of an oblivion of what's expected. Where in the heck did you come up with that comparison? You remembered where you came from without realizing that's what it is. So you can't take that pristine perfection and lay that on the person in your life. But you also can't be in a relationship that causes you to compromise, that hurts you, that doesn't let you grow, okay, and become more than you were before you got here and live the life you intended, because that other person's a rock, okay, because they're holding you back, because they resent you, because they're making it hard for you, because they don't like you, okay? No, no, no. That's totally the wrong thing. Just find your friend. Find that person who sees things like you do, who's struggling with the same things you are. that needs, to understand it and wants to understand it just like you do. But if they're happy with their misery, run the other way, okay? No, don't stay in that. That's not the answer. But if you've got a friend, a partner, a comrade, a companion, somebody that can go out and, slay dragons with you. I'm using analogies here, but somebody who's really got the heart you have, and to see it through and to live your life together and to not blame each other. Did you hear that? Do not blame each other and hurt each other and stand by each other. Like when one of you gets hurt it's going to be okay. All right. Yeah, just don't be mean to each other. It's not okay to hurt each other, you guys. No. And if they get mean toward you, you have to get away from that. You have to get a break from that. You have to find someone to take care of that person and get away from it, because you don't deserve that. That's going to wear you down and hurt you. All right. You're not here to do that. And write in your journal what's going on until you can figure it out. All right. Sometimes, you guys, we get ourselves in a relationship that seemed to be so right. And then, I don't know, 8 years later, 10 years, I had it happen where he changed totally, okay? Oh, whoops. Maybe I was the one that changed.
Maybe he was always like that.
Okay, that's really what I found out. Did you see me do that? I see how I sold you on that? Sometimes you sell yourself on that. They were perfect. What happened? What went wrong? They didn't change at all. You changed. And they weren't changing. They weren't on board with you. And then the relationship, there is no relationship. And sometimes you just have to cut your losses and move on. I'm going to have insight for you guys about love and relationships coming up. It's coming up pretty soon, actually. Right, Ray? That one? We've already got it, and we're just waiting for the guides to launch it and say, let's do this now. Let's go for that one now. Because it talks about this, and it talks about the beauty of moving through these relationships and let them serve you. They're not supposed to hurt you. Nothing in this world is supposed to hurt you. And if it does, write it in here. Start writing in part 3 and start documenting what's going on with you, so you can begin to identify your progress and where you've got your feet stuck in the mud, so you can unstick them. All right? That's right.
Linda likes to call it rewiring your life.
That's what my guided journey does. It rewires your life. What we do here on Tuesday nights with Linda's weekly guided insights is inspire you. On Wednesdays, we rewire you. So come.
Oh, that's good.
So come tomorrow. All right, right here, same place, same time. You guys.
All right.
We'll see you Wednesday tomorrow, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
That's it. Maybe we'll see some of you here in Phoenix in September, October, November, and December.
September. You got me going, Ray. September
7th.
I want to make sure I don't say it. Planet Saturday, September 7th, 1 to 3.
But they may not want to come when it's 110 degrees here, but boy, when it gets cold where they're living in October, November, December, they might want to come to nice, warm Phoenix.
That's right. And we've got a lot of local followers. We're probably going to fill up. We're probably going to sell out on this event. So get in there and look it over. It's in the description. The link is for this event. Check it out. And you can let us know if you have any questions about it, but everything's pretty well defined. And there's a 5-minute video in there that tells you all about it. Okay? All right, you guys. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody. Be kind.
Thank you for coming.